Some people spend their whole lives throwing stones, thinking they'll cause harm, never realizing those same stones become the steps we rise on. The universe has a brutal sense of balance. And when someone plots your downfall, it's already marking the location of their lesson. That's not superstition, that's rhythm, cosmic law. Every action, echoed, every betrayal, boomeranged. The ones who tried to trip you are the same ones stumbling now, caught in the very trap they built for your collapse. You see, when you're chosen, you move different, not louder, not flashier, just heavier. Your presence is weight, your silence, a warning. And every critic who mistook your delay for defeat is now realizing you weren't late, you were loading, like a final scene they never read in the script. And now, it's their show that's shaking. This isn't about revenge, it's about revelation. They wanted to bury you in noise, but all they did was amplify your rise. Because every time they pulled a string to make you fall, they only tightened the noose around their own illusions. You're not just succeeding, you're haunting the silence they tried to stuff you into. And now, chosen ones, the spotlight doesn't flatter, it confirms. You're not here to be accepted, you're here to be undeniable. You're not rising, you're redefining the skyline. If you're done shrinking for comfort zones that were never meant to hold you, like this video, subscribe and step into your next level. The movement's not starting, it's already in motion, and you're the momentum. Before we shift the entire atmosphere, do one thing: lock in. If you're the one they doubted, dismissed, or tried to downplay, then this message isn't a coincidence. It's precision. Hit that like button if you're done hiding in plain sight. Subscribe if you're ready to stop waiting for permission and start owning the room. And drop 99 in the comments if you feel that energy pulling at your chest. That's not hype, that's alignment. This isn't just another video. This is your reminder that you're not walking into the scene. You are the scene. Stay locked in till the end. The real takeover starts now. Number 1. Stop shrinking in silence. You were the disruption they never prepared for. While they were busy calculating your worth based on whispers and optics, you were out of view, loading like a storm behind the hills, gathering force in complete silence. They thought your silence was evidence of failure. But silence isn't failure. Silence is a build-up. And you were becoming unrecognizable on purpose. They told each other stories where you were already written out, pushed into the background, erased with fake smiles and louder voices. But here's what they never saw coming. Your absence wasn't empty. It was pressure building behind the walls. And now that you're here, the air has shifted, and they don't know whether to clap, panic, or run. While they were showing off empty confidence under borrowed lights, you were being broken down and rebuilt from something raw. You weren't just off the radar, you were off the grid. Underground, off script, moving in a frequency they couldn't track. The kind of evolution that doesn't need announcement, because when it walks in, the room rewrites itself. They got comfortable in your absence, didn't they? Started performing like they owned the spotlight, mistaking your quiet for defeat. They labeled you irrelevant, too late, too strange, too much. But no one told them the show doesn't climax until the twist enters. And you, chosen one, you were never the missing piece. You were the piece they didn't know the story was missing. Now that you're back, now that you've arrived, it's not just disruptive, it's disorienting. Their entire narrative is glitching. The version of you they rehearsed to dismiss no longer exists. Because you didn't just return different, you returned undeniable. And everything they built without you now stands on shaking ground because it was never real. It was just noise waiting to be silenced by presence. You are not here to ask for a place. You are the place. You didn't come back to rejoin the table. You are the gravity, shifting where the table even belongs. You are not an addition to the scene. You are the reset button for the whole script. This isn't a comeback. This is a reveal. They never saw it coming because they were too busy watching their own reflections to notice a storm forming behind the curtain. Number 2. Quit playing the role they gave you. You were born to write the script. They handed you a part, quiet, agreeable, forgettable, told you to play nice, stay in line, and dim down anything that made them uncomfortable. They gave you a script with half-written lines and expected you to be grateful for the crumbs of relevance. But here's the twist. You were never meant to follow their direction. You were meant to break the genre. They cast you as the side character in a story you were born to lead. Told you your power was too much, your vision too far, your truth too loud. But the truth is, they knew the second you stopped reading from their pages, the entire production would shift, because you were never supposed to memorize their lines. You were built to rewrite the script in your own voice. You observed them, watched the politics, the performances, the masks. And then one day, you snapped the pen they handed you and picked up your own. Quietly, powerfully, without needing applause. And now that you're moving from alignment, not approval, they're scrambling. Because you're not acting anymore, you're becoming. They can't figure you out because you're no longer trying to be understood inside their box. You're writing a new language, one forged in silence, clarity, and fire. Let them keep performing. You're producing something real. And when the credits roll on this next chapter, their names might flash across the screen. But yours will be the one they remember, because you didn't just break character. Number 3. Don't chase the light, become the reason it shines in the first place. They were obsessed with being seen. Every move was a performance, every word rehearsed, every moment engineered for attention. Meanwhile, you weren't even in the frame, because you weren't chasing the light. You were becoming the reason it had meaning. Let them chase the spotlight like it's salvation. You understood early, light without substance is just noise with a filter. You didn't crave attention, you craved alignment. While they danced for applause, you were building in silence. While they fought to stay visible, you were training in the dark. The kind of work no camera ever captures, but every soul eventually feels. That's why now, when you walk into a space, the light shifts. It adjusts to you. You don't enter rooms, you redirect them. You don't speak loudly. Your presence speaks for you. You're not just watched, you're felt. That's the power of not chasing the shine, but becoming its source. They still don't understand how someone who never begged for visibility ended up being the one they can't stop watching. But that's what happens when truth walks into a room full of theatrics. Their spotlight is fleeting, yours is gravitational. You didn't rehearse to be seen. You became so real that the world had no choice but to look your way. So let them compete for attention. You'll continue to command it. Not because you're louder, but because you're the reason silence gets quiet. And when the light finally settles, it won't land on the performer. It'll lock onto the presence that never needed an audience to shine. Number 4. Ditch the performance. Raw presence always outlasts fake applause. They choreographed every word, every gesture, every fake smile like they were auditioning for relevance. You showed up unrehearsed, but unforgettable. No lines, no costume, just presence. And in a world so obsessed with acting like something, it's terrifying when someone walks in simply being it. They studied how to appear powerful. You learned how to carry it. That's why the atmosphere breaks when you enter. Not because you try too hard, but because you don't try at all. You are the real. And real doesn't need volume. Real doesn't perform. Real doesn't ask for attention. It commands silence. Their exaggerated energy collapses next to your calm clarity. They relied on performance because it's all they had. But performance needs a crowd. You built your energy for moments when no one was watching. That's why now, when the curtain rises, they flinch, and you own the scene without speaking. The truth? They're afraid of you. Not because you're louder, but because you're solid, and that solidity exposes every crack in their mask, every artificial move, every scripted reaction. See, when the crowd gets tired of clapping for illusions, they don't look for another show, they look for the truth, and that's you. So stop explaining, stop matching energy, stop dimming. You weren't made to perform, you were made to shift the tone. And now, the act is over, the performance is falling apart, and what's left? You, unfiltered, unshaken, and undeniable. Let them fumble with the script. You are the scene stealer. You didn't come for the applause. Number 5. Stop fearing replacement. What's real can't be recast. They tried to replicate your role like it was just another line in a forgettable script. Like essence could be copied, like presence could be auditioned for. But here's the truth they choked on. You can't recast what was never written to be replaced. What you bring isn't style, it's soul. And the second it's gone, the whole production falls flat. They paraded stand-ins across the stage, louder, shinier, easier to control. And for a second, it fooled the crowd. But energy doesn't lie. And eventually, even the audience felt it. That quiet discomfort that whispers, something's missing. That something was you. You were never just filling space. You were the force that made the space matter. You were the frequency holding everything together while they assumed you were disposable. The irony? Every time they tried to move on from you, their scenes fell apart. Not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked truth. And you are truth, embodied. They thought anyone could do what you do. But now, the silence around your absence screams louder than their performance. Their lights are still on, but the warmth is gone. The script is moving, but the story feels hollow. Because it was never about being visible, it was about being vital. So stop fearing replacement. Replacements are for roles, but you were never a role. You were the reason the scene had meaning. And without you, the spotlight becomes a lie trying too hard to shine. You weren't cast to perform, you were born to carry weight. And weight like that can't be faked, can't be substituted, can't be duplicated. Number 6. Silence isn't weakness, it's where power gets its voice. They thought your silence meant surrender, that you had no words left, no moves, no voice. But they misunderstood the silence. They mistook your stillness for submission, like the absence of noise meant the absence of power. What they didn't realize is that silence is where the most dangerous storms gather strength. While they filled every room with volume, you were cultivating velocity. They performed for applause. You trained in the dark, quietly, consistently. While they rushed to be seen, you were becoming the kind of force that doesn't ask for space. It takes it by simply showing up. Silence doesn't mean you disappeared. It means you were building. You weren't trying to impress. You were aligning with precision. Every delay sharpened your edges. Every quiet night that no one watched carved a new layer of clarity into you. You weren't inactive. You were becoming inevitable. And now, the moment you speak, even a whisper, it cuts deeper than their loudest declarations, because your words carry weight earned in solitude. Your tone carries truth that can't be taught. And your presence, it exposes everything fake just by existing. They ran from the quiet because they couldn't face themselves. You stayed in it, and that's why you're unshakable now. You didn't go missing, you were being refined. You didn't lose your voice, you were learning how to use it with impact. So when the show turns and you finally take the stage, remember this: it wasn't your noise that brought you here, it was your depth. Number 7. Don't adapt to the room, your presence was made to rearrange it. You were never meant to blend in, dim down, or walk softly just to keep fragile egos comfortable. You're not made of small talk and fake smiles. You're made of shift, energy, frequency, and every space you enter knows it. even if people pretend they don't. There's a reason some people tighten up when you walk in, why the energy suddenly shifts. It's not tension, it's recognition. They feel it before they understand it. You don't even need to say much. Your presence speaks volumes. And those who've built their identity on illusions, they feel exposed just by standing near you. You don't carry noise, you carry truth. And truth has a way of rearranging everything that's built on shaky ground. You weren't sent to match their tempo, you were sent to rewire the rhythm. You're not here to perform, you're the pulse the entire scene has been missing. They wanted you to play small so the room could stay predictable, but that was never your assignment. You were made to raise the ceiling, flip the atmosphere, and make everything false start to fumble. They'll call it too much, but what they really mean is undeniable. You don't disrupt the space. You reveal what's been hiding inside it, so stop contorting to fit. That's not your job. Your presence isn't decoration, it's design. It was never about belonging, it was about building a new room around a real one. You're not adjusting to the script, you are the rewrite. And now that you've stepped in, the scene has no choice but to shift. Number 8. Stop faking survival. Real strength is forged, not performed. Let's get one thing clear. Survival isn't a slogan. It's not a caption, a buzzword, or a branding tool. It's blood. It's bruises you don't post. It's walking into rooms after life cracked your bones and still standing like the ground owes you stability. The world is full of performers dressed in pain, people who mimic depth with perfectly timed sob stories, rehearsed trauma, and pain they barely touched. But you didn't rehearse it. You endured it. And that difference is everything. Chosen ones don't talk about the fire. They carry the burn marks in silence. They don't flex survival. They wear it in their eyes, in the way they enter a room like they've already buried the version of themselves who would have begged for approval. Your strength wasn't built on pretending to be resilient. It was built while everyone else looked away. In the nights no one asked about, in the seasons no one stayed through. The irony? The ones who mocked your breakdowns now mimic your strength, but they'll never last. Because what they copy wasn't created in front of a crowd. It was carved in solitude. So don't explain your depth to people drowning in performance. Let them act, let them posture, let them build their image. You're building something heavier, truth. And that truth, it's the exact reason you're about to steal the entire show. Number 9. Quit begging to be seen, become too real to be ignored. There was a time they trained you to chase attention, to earn visibility like it was a paycheck. Clap louder, post more, shrink less. But here's the twist. What's loud isn't always lasting, and what's real doesn't need an introduction. You're not here to beg for the spotlight. You're here to make it beg for relevance in your presence. You weren't overlooked, you were underestimated. And that was their first mistake. They thought if they ignored you long enough, you'd fade. But the truth is, you weren't fading, you were forging. Out of view, off the grid, deep in your own becoming. They kept playing the game louder, flashier, more desperate, while you were mastering your essence in silence. Now, your presence is so dense, so raw, so undeniable. It speaks before you even open your mouth. They don't just see you now, they feel you, and that's the kind of impact no algorithm, no clout, no staged applause can fake. You stopped chasing exposure and started becoming substance. And substance, it echoes, it lingers, it takes over rooms that once acted like you didn't exist. This isn't about fame, it's about frequency. You're not aiming for attention, you are the shift. The show can't function without what you bring. You've become too heavy to lift, too whole to dismiss, too real to erase. So no more knocking at locked doors. You've outgrown the building. Now they're staring, stumbling, searching, and asking the one question they never thought they'd whisper. How did we miss them? You didn't disappear. You just evolved into something they can no longer ignore. Number 10. Don't chase moments. Understand you are the moment. They told you the moment passed, that the window closed, that your silence cost you the spotlight. But what they never understood is, the spotlight doesn't define you, it follows you. They were out here scrambling for their big break, rehearsing sound bites, chasing trends, doing backflips for 5 seconds of recognition. Meanwhile, you weren't in the race. You were becoming the finish line. The moment they thought had come and gone, that moment was just stretching before it stood in your shape. They assumed you were out of time, but how can time run out when you're the one it's been waiting on? You were never designed to arrive on cue. You were the cue, the shift, the disruption, the glitch in their system that they can't debug. When you enter the room, the tempo adjusts, conversations shift, people get quieter, not because you're loud, but because your presence rewrites the atmosphere. You didn't miss your moment. You are the moment they miscalculated, underestimated, and now can't ignore. They thought they were watching the show, but the real performance didn't even start until you showed up. And now that you're here, everything else feels off script. You don't need to fight for space. Your energy carves space. You don't wait for recognition. Your movement is the realization. So stop shrinking. Stop questioning the timing. This isn't a delayed arrival. This is the reset. And you're not stepping into the scene. You're flipping the entire story. The moment isn't passing you by. It's catching up to you. Because it never truly begins until you enter. Number 11. Stop blaming the script. You outperformed it with pure truth. They handed you the wrong lines on purpose, scripts full of silence, setbacks and second-guessing, scenes written to keep you forgettable, background noise at best, disposable at worst. They gave you a role that was meant to make you small, smile on cue, stay in your lane, applaud from the shadows, and still, you delivered a performance that burned through the paper. See, they were banking on you folding, on you following the lines like a puppet with no pen of your own. But you didn't follow, you didn't recite, you rewrote, you flipped the genre from tragedy to takeover. You turned every misstep into momentum. Every closed door became a plot twist they didn't see coming. They gave you a role built on doubt. You returned it with presence. No makeup, no rehearsals, just raw reality. And the most ironic part? The people they chose instead of you, the ones who had the clean lines, the easy lighting, the forced applause, they still couldn't hold the scene. Because charisma fades. But truth leaves a mark. Chosen one, your entire journey was never about playing their part. It was about proving you never needed a part. You are the story. You are the shift. You are the moment they never rehearsed for. So stop blaming the script. Stop analyzing the role you were boxed into. You've already stolen the entire show, and the only reason it still exists is because you walked through the fire and made it mean something. The world's catching up, the curtain's lifting, and the scene can't continue without you. Number 12. Forget fitting the genre. You're here to rewrite the whole thing. You weren't sent to blend into someone else's format. You're not here to fit a mold that was never made with you in mind. The truth is, they've been recycling the same storylines for years. Same characters, same noise, same empty climax. But then you arrived, and suddenly the entire genre cracked under the weight of your presence. They didn't know how to categorize you. You didn't follow the usual cues. You didn't beg for attention. You didn't perform their roles or parrot their scripts. And that's what makes you dangerous. Because when someone can't be boxed in, they can't be controlled. While they were busy remixing what already existed, you were becoming something the world hadn't seen yet. You didn't just break the pattern, you redefined the blueprint. You're not here to take the lead in someone else's tired production. You're here to disrupt the entire set. You're not the star of the show. You're the shift that makes the show worth watching. They thought they were casting roles, but you walked in like a rewrite. And now their whole narrative is off balance. They call it unpredictable, they call it unorthodox. But deep down, they feel it. The story's changing, the pace is shifting, the energy is yours now. You weren't created to walk the same old path. You came to build one from scratch, in your own voice, your own frequency, your own fire. So let them wonder why their format no longer works. Let them scramble to keep up. You didn't just flip the page. You became the plot twist that made their whole genre obsolete. And now that the scene has shifted and the noise has died down, one truth remains. You were never part of their storyline. You were the rewrite the world was waiting for. The show isn't yours to join, it's yours to own. You didn't come to impress, you came to redefine. So stand tall, chosen one. The spotlight isn't searching anymore. It's found what it was made for. If this message hit home, like the video, subscribe to join the movement, and drop 99 in the comments if you're ready to keep flipping the script.